So we'll ask you to come and share the Word of God. Please pay attention to the Lord as He speaks through the Word. Larry? At the end of the service. Thank you.
All right, for those of you who weren't here this morning, our ministry is called Word Sower. We tell the Bible from memory as the sermon. And for this afternoon's message, I'm going to tell the story of Sampson and Ruth plus Matthew chapter 1. Sampson and Ruth were pretty much contemporaries. They lived in what would be called the Late Bronze Age, or Iron Age 1, which is somewhere around like 1200 or 1300 BC. It would be like Samson lived in Grinnell and Ruth lived in Des Moines. One lived in the lowlands, the other lived in the hill country. So they were neighbors, and they definitely were influenced and affected by the culture and the world of Israel at that time. There's a lot in common with them and us today. Once Israel entered the land through Joshua, a couple hundred years passed, and it's the time of Samson and Ruth. And we know from the text that during that couple hundred of years, after the Constitution, the law was given to the whole country was pretty solid. And slowly and surely over time, things went crazy. And it got to such a point where it says that in the time of Samson and Ruth, that every man did that which was right in his own eyes. There's no one to hold us to authority. There is no law. There's no Torah. We can do what we want. And it's very similar to today. It's just a couple hundred years after the Constitution's been formed. It's been given. Started out solid. And today, there's a lot of good believers around, like this church and you people, but it's chaotic too. So let's look at Samson. Let's look at Ruth in Matthew chapter 1. Let's not be too hard on Samson. Remember, he's an example of faith in Hebrews chapter 11. And Ruth and her example of faith and how through her eventually came about the King of Kings. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines 40 years. And there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and bare not. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman, and said unto her, Behold now, thou art barren and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. Now drink no wine, nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing, for the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb, and he shall be given to deliver the hand of the Israelites out of the Philistines. And the woman came and told her husband and said, Behold, a man hath appeared unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of an angel of God, very terrible. But I asked him not who he was, neither told me he his name. But he said unto me, Behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son. And now drink no wine, nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb until the day of his death. Then Manoah entreated the Lord, and said, O my Lord, let the man of God which thou didst send come again unto us, and teach us what we shall do unto the child that shall be born. And God hearkened to the voice of Manoah. And the angel of God came again unto the woman as she sat in the field, but Manoah her husband was not with her. Then the woman arose and made haste and ran and told her husband and said, Behold, the man hath appeared unto me that came unto me the other day. And Manoah arose and went after his wife, and came to the man and said unto him, Art thou the man which spakest unto the woman? And he said, I am. And he said, Now let thy words come to pass. How shall we order the child, and what shall we do unto him? And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, Of all that I said unto the woman, let her beware. She may not eat of anything that cometh of the vine, neither let her drink wine nor strong drink. All that I commanded her, let her observe. And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, I pray thee, let us detain thee until we shall have made ready a calf for thee. And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, Though thou detain me, I will not eat of thy bread. And if thou wilt offer a burnt offering, thou must offer it unto the Lord. For Manoah knew not that he was the angel of the Lord. And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, What is thy name, that when thy sayings come to pass, we may do thee honor? And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, Why do you ask after my name, seeing it is secret? So Manoah took a calf with a meal offering and offered it upon a rock unto the Lord. And the angel of the Lord did wondrously, and Manoah and his wife looked on it. For it came to pass when the flame went up towards heaven from off the altar, that the angel of the Lord ascended in the flame of the altar, and Manoah and his wife fell on their faces to the ground. But the angel of the Lord did no more appear to Manoah and to his wife. Then Manoah knew that he was the angel of the Lord. And Manoah said unto his wife, We shall surely die, because we have seen God. But his wife said unto him, If the Lord were pleased to kill us, he would not have received a burnt offering and a meal offering at our hand. Neither would he have showed us all these things, nor told us such things as these. And the woman bare a son, and called his name Sampson. And the child grew, and the Lord blessed him. And the Spirit of the Lord began to move him at times in the camp of Dan between Zorah and Eshtaol. And Samson went down to Timnath, and saw a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. And he came up and told his father and mother, and said, I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me to wife. Then his father and his mother said unto him, Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all thy people, that thou goest to take to wife a daughter of the uncircumcised Philistines? And Samson said unto his father, Get her for me, for she pleaseth me well. But his father and his mother knew not that it was of the Lord that he sought an occasion against the Philistines, for at that time the Philistines had dominion over Israel. Then went Samson down, and his father and his mother, to Timnath, and came to the vineyards of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared against him. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid, and he had nothing in his hands. But he told not his father nor his mother what he had done. And he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well. And after a time he returned to take her, and he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion. And behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion. And he took thereof in his hand, and went on eating. And he came to his father and his mother, and he gave them, and they did eat. But he told them not that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion. So his father went down unto the woman, and Samson made there a feast, for so used the young men to do. And it came to pass when they saw him, that they brought 30 companions to be with him. And he said unto them, I will now put forth a riddle unto you. If you can certainly declare it me within the 7 days of the feast, and find it out, then I shall give you 30 shirts and 30 changes of garments. But if you cannot declare it to me, then shall you give me 30 shirts and 30 changes of garments. And they said unto him, Put forth thy riddle, that we may hear it. And he said unto them, Out of the eater came forth food, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. And they could not in 3 days expound the riddle. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they said unto Samson's wife, Entice thy husband, that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee and thy father's house with fire. Have you called us to take that we have? Is it not so? And Samson's wife wept before him, and said unto him, Thou dost but hate me, and lovest me not. Thou hast put forth a riddle to the children of my people, and hast not told it to me. And he said unto her, Behold, I have not told it to my father or my mother, and shall I tell it to thee? And she wept before him the 7 days while the feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her, because she lay sore upon him, and she told the riddle unto the children of her people. And the men of the city said unto Samson on the 7th day before the sun went down, What is sweeter than honey, and what is stronger than a lion? And he said unto them, If you had not plowed with my heifer, you had not found out my riddle. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he went down to Ashkelon, and slew 30 men of them, and took their spoil, and gave change of garments unto them which expounded the riddle. But his anger was kindled, and he went up to his father's house. But Samson's wife was given to his companion, whom he had used as his friend. But it came to pass a while after, in the time of wheat harvest, that Samson visited his wife with the kid, and he said, I will go into my wife, into her chamber. But her father would not suffer him to go in. Then her father said, I verily thought that thou hast utterly hated her, therefore I gave her to thy companion. Is not her younger sister fairer than she? Take her, I pray thee, instead of her. And Samson said unto them, Now shall I be more blameless than the Philistines, though I do them a pleasure. And Samson went and caught 300 foxes, and took firebrands and turned tail to tail and put a firebrand in the midst of the tails. And when he had set the brands on fire, he let them go into the standing grain of the Philistines and burnt up both the shocks and also the standing grain with the vineyards and olives. Then the Philistines said, "Who hath done this?" And they answered, "Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite, because he has taken his wife and given her to his companion." Then the Philistines came up and burnt her and her father with fire. And Samson said unto them, "Though you have done this, yet I will be avenged of you, and after that I will cease." And he smote them hip and thigh with a great slaughter. And he went up and dwelt in the top of the rock Etam. And the Philistines came up and pitched themselves in Judah, and spread themselves in Lehi. And the men of Judah said, "Why are you come up against us?" And they answered, "To bind Samson are we come up, to do to him as he hath done unto us." Then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock Etam, and said unto Samson, "Knowest thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is this that thou hast done unto us?" And Samson said unto them, "As they did unto me, so have I done unto them." And they said unto him, "We are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hand of the Philistines." Samson said unto them, "Swear unto me, you will not fall upon me yourselves." And they spake unto him, saying, "No, but surely we will bind thee fast and deliver thee into their hands, but surely we will not kill thee." And they bound him with new cords and brought him up from the rock. And it came to pass when he came unto Lehi that the Philistines shouted against him, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and the cords that were upon his arms became as flax that was burnt with fire, and his bands were loosed from his hands. And he found a new jawbone of a donkey. And he put forth his hand and took it, and he slew 1,000 men therewith. And Samson said, "With the jawbone of a donkey, heaps upon heaps, with the jawbone of a donkey have I slain 1,000 men." And he cast away the jawbone out of his hand, and he called the name of that place Ramat Lehi, and he was sore athirst. And he called on the Lord and said, "O Lord, thou hast given this great deliverance into the hand of thy servant, and now shall I die for thirst and fall into the hand of the uncircumcised?" But God clave a hollow place that was in the jaw, and there came water thereout. And when he had drunk, his spirit came again, and he revived. Wherefore he called the name thereof Ein Hakore, which is in Lehi unto this day. And he judged Israel 20 years. Then went Samson to Gaza, and saw there a harlot, and went in unto her. And it was told the Gazites, saying, "Behold, Samson is come here." And they compassed him in, and laid wait for him all night in the gate of the city, saying, "In the morning, when it is day, we shall kill him." And Samson lay till midnight, and arose at midnight, and took the doors of the gate of the city, the posts and all, and put them upon his shoulder, bar and all, and carried them up to the top of a hill which is before Hebron. And it came to pass afterwards that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorach, whose name was Delilah. And the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and said unto her, "Entice him, and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him. And we will give thee every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver." And Delilah said unto Samson, "Tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and wherewith thou mightest be bound to afflict thee." And Samson said unto her, "If they bind me with green ropes that never were dry, then shall I be weak and be like any other man." And the lords of the Philistines brought up to her green ropes which had never been dried. And now there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber. And she said unto Samson, "The Philistines be upon thee, Samson." And he brake them from off his arms, as a thread is broken when it toucheth the fire, so his strength was not known. And Delilah said unto Samson, "Behold, thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Now tell me, I pray thee, wherewith thou mightest be bound." And he said unto her, "If they bind me with new ropes that never were occupied, then shall I be weak and be like any other man." And she bound him with new ropes, and said unto him, "The Philistines be upon thee, Samson." And there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber, and he broke them from off his arms as a thread. And she said, "Behold, thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Now tell me, I pray thee, wherewith thou mightest be bound." And he said unto her, "If thou weavest the 7 locks of my head, then shall I be weak and be like any other man." And she fastened it with the pin, and said unto him, "The Philistines be upon thee, Samson." And he awoke out of his sleep, and went away with the pin of the beam and the web. And she said, how can thou say, I love thee, when thy heart is not with me? Thou hast mocked me these 3 times, and hast not told me wherein thy great strength lieth. And it came to pass, as she pressed him daily with her words, and urged him, so that his soul was vexed unto death, that he told her all his heart. And Samson said, There hath not come a razor upon my head, for I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak, and be like any other man. And when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, and said, Come up this once, for he has showed me all his heart. Then the lords of the Philistines came up to her, and they brought money in their hand. And Delilah made him sleep upon her knees. And she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head. And she began to afflict him. And she said, The Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he woke out of his sleep and said, I will go out as other times and just shake this off myself. But he knew not that the Lord had departed from him. But the Philistines took him and put out his eyes, and brought him down to Gaza, and bound him with fetters of brass. And he did grind in the prison house. Howbeit, the hair of his head began to grow again, after he was shaven. Then the lords of the Philistines gathered them together to offer a great sacrifice unto Dagon their god, and to rejoice. For they said, Our God hath delivered into our hands our enemy. And when the people saw him, they shouted with a great shout. And they said, Our God hath delivered into our hands our enemy, and the destroyer of our country, which slew many of us. And it came to pass, when their hearts were merry, that they said, Call for Samson, that he may make us sport. And they called for Samson out of the prison house, and he made them sport, and they set him between the pillars. And Samson said unto the boy that held him by the hand, Suffer me that I may feel the pillars whereupon the house standeth, that I may lean upon them. Now the house was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there. And there were upon the roof about 3,000 men and women that beheld while Samson made sport. And Samson called unto the Lord, said, O Lord God, remember me, I pray thee, and strengthen me, I pray thee, only this once, O God, that I may be at once to avenge the Philistines for my 2 eyes. And Samson took hold of the 2 middle pillars upon which the house stood, and on which it was borne up, of the one with his right hand and of the other with his left. And Samson said, Let me die with the Philistines! And he bowed himself with all his might, and the house fell upon the lords and upon all the people that were therein. So the dead which he slew in his death were more than they which he slew in his life. Then his brethren and all the house of his father came down, and they took him, and they brought him up, and buried him in the burying place of Manoah his father, which is between Zorah and Eshtaol. And Samson judged Israel the days of the Philistines 20 years. It came to pass in the days when the judges judged, that there was a famine in the land. And a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelt there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died also, both of them, and the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her. And they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. And Naomi said unto her daughters-in-law, Go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant you that you might find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. She kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said unto her, Surely we will return with thee unto thy people. And Naomi said, Turn again, my daughters, go your way. Why will you go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb that they might be your husbands? And she said, turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband also tonight, and should also bear sons, would you tarry for them till they were grown? Would you wait for them from having husbands? No, my daughters. For it grieveth me much for your sake that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me. And they lifted up their voice and wept. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law. But Ruth clave unto her. And she said, behold, thy sister-in-law has gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, nor to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go. Whither thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people. Thy God, my God. Where thou diest, I will die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death part thee and me. And when she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she just left off speaking to her. So they two went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass when they were come to Bethlehem that all the city was moved about them. And they said, is this Naomi? And she said, call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then do you call me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem at the beginning of barley harvest. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband, a mighty man of wealth, the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, let me now go to the fields and glean ears of grain after him, in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. So she went and came and gleaned in the part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and said unto the reapers, the Lord bless you. And they said, the Lord bless thee. Then said Boaz unto his servant that was set over the reapers, whose damsel is this? And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, it is the Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheep. So she came and hath continued even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. Then said Boaz unto Ruth, hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to another field, neither go from hence, but abide here fast by my maidens. Let thy eyes be on the field that they do glean, and go thou after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? And when thou art athirst, go unto the vessels, and drink of that which the young men have drawn. And she fell on her face, and bowed herself to the ground. Said, why have I found grace in thy eyes, that thou shouldest take knowledge of me, seeing I am a stranger? And Boaz answered and said unto her, it hath fully been shown me all that thou hast done to thy mother-in-law since the death of thy husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother in the land of thy nativity, and art come unto a people which thou knew not before. The Lord recompense thy work, and a full reward be given thee of the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to trust. She said, let me find favor in thy sight, my Lord, for thou hast comforted me, and thou hast spoken friendly unto thy handmaid, though I be not like unto one of thy handmaids. And Boaz said unto her, it's mealtime, come up here, and eat of the bread, and dip thy morsel in the vinegar. And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached for her parched grain, and she did eat, and was sufficed, and had leftovers. And when she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his men, saying, let her glean even among the sheaves, and reproach her not. And let fall also some of the handfuls of grain for her, and leave them, so she may glean them, and rebuke her not. So she gleaned in the fields until even, and she beat out that she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. She took it up and went into the city, and gave to her mother-in-law, and her mother-in-law saw her, and she had reserved. That's what she gave to her mother-in-law. And Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law, where hast thou gleaned today, and where did you work? Blessed be he that did take knowledge of thee. And she told her mother-in-law with whom she had worked, and said, The man's name with whom I work today is Boaz. And Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law, Blessed be he of the Lord, who hath not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead. And Naomi said unto her, The man is near of kin unto us, one of our next kinsmen. And Ruth the Moabitess said, He said unto me also, Thou shalt keep fast by my young men until they have ended all my harvest. And Naomi said unto Ruth, her daughter-in-law, It is good, my daughters, that thou go out with his maidens, that they meet thee not in any other field. So she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean until the end of barley harvest, and of wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law. And Naomi, her mother-in-law, said, My daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee? And now is not Boaz of our kindred, with whose maidens thou was? Behold, he winnoweth barley tonight, and the threshing floor. Wash thyself therefore, and anoint thee, and put thy clothing upon thee, and get thee down unto the floor. But make not thyself known unto the man, until he shall have done eating and drinking. And when he lieth down, thou shalt mark the place where he shall lie. Thou shalt go in and uncover his feet, and lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do. And she said unto her, All that thou sayest unto me, I will do. And she went down unto the threshing floor, and did according unto all that her mother-in-law bade her. And when Boaz had eaten and drank, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. She came softly, and uncovered his feet, and laid her down. It came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid, and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. And he said, Who are you? She said, I am Ruth, thy handmaid. Spread therefore thy wing over thy handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman. And Boaz said unto her, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter. For thou hast shown more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor nor rich. And now, my daughter, fear not, I will do thee all that thou requirest. For all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. And now it is true that I am thy near kinsman. Howbeit there is a kinsman nearer than I. Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning that if he will perform the part of a kinsman unto thee, well, let him do the kinsman's part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman, then will I do the part of a kinsman. As the Lord liveth, lie down until the morning. And she lay at his feet until morning. And she arose up before one could know another. And he said, Let it not be known that a woman came into the floor. Also he said, Bring the veil that thou hast upon thee, and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 measures of barley, and laid it on her. And she took it up into the city. And when her mother-in-law saw her, she said, Is that you, my daughter? And she told her all that the man had done unto her. And she said, These 6 measures of barley gave he to me, for he said unto me, Go not empty unto thy mother-in-law. Then she said, Sit still, my daughter, until thou know how the matter will fall, for the men will not be at rest until they have finished the thing this day. Then went Boaz up to the gate, and sat him down there. And the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, There he is, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And she sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city, and said, Sit down here, and they sat down. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi that is come again out of the country of Moab selleth a parcel of land, which was our brother Elimelech's. And I thought to advertise it to thee, saying, Buy it before the elders and the inhabitants of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know. For there is none to redeem beside thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. Then said Boaz, What day thou buyest the fields of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And the kinsman said unto Boaz, I cannot buy it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. Now this was the manner in former times in Israel, concerning redeeming and concerning changing. For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his sandal and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, Buy it for thee. So he drew off his sandal. Then said Boaz unto all the inhabitants of the city and the elders, You are witnesses this day, that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and Chilion's, and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren and from the gate of his people. You are witnesses this day. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thy house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel. And do thou worthily in Ephratah, and famous in Bethlehem, and let like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth. She became his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the woman, her neighbors, said unto Naomi, Blessed be the Lord, who hath not left thee this day without a kinsman in Israel, that his name may be famous in Israel, and he shall be a restorer of life, and a nourisher of thy old age. For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him. And Naomi took the child, and laid it in her bosom, and became nurse unto it. And the woman, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, There is a son born unto Naomi. And they called his name Obed. He's the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now these are the generations of Pharez. Pharez begot Esron. Esron begot Aram. Aram begot Aminadab. Aminadab begot Nasun. Nasun begot Salmon. Salmon begot Boaz of Rahab. And Boaz begot Obed of Ruth. And Obed begot Jesse. And Jesse begot David the king. And David the king begot Solomon, of her that had been the wife of Uriah. And Solomon begot Rehoboam. Rehoboam begot Abijah. Abijah begot Asa. Asa begot Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat begot Joram. Joram begot Uzziah. Uzziah begot Jotham. Jotham begot Ahaz. Ahaz begot Hezekiah. Hezekiah begot Manasseh. Manasseh begot Ammon. Ammon begot Josiah. And Josiah begot Jeconiah and his brethren about the time they were carried away into Babylon. And after they were carried away into Babylon, Jeconiah begot Salatiel. Salatiel begot Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel begot Abiud. Abiud begot Eliakim. Eliakim begot Azor. Azor begot Sadok. Sadok begot Achim. Achim begot Eliud. Eliud begot Eleazar. Eleazar begot Matan. Matan begot Jacob. And Jacob begot Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus, who is called the Messiah. The word of the Lord. Okay, friends. Questions? Comments? Concerns? Well, I want to thank you all so much for letting me come back. It's been a real blessing to be here today. I look forward to staying in touch with you. For those of you who have wedding invitations, you're more than welcome to come. I want to thank Pastor and Jenny for letting us come today and telling the Word of God from memory. On the table in the back, there's some resources on memorization you might find helpful. There's a book on the history of memorizing, Judaism and Christianity, and there's DVDs of the Bible spoken from memory all over the Holy Land. So thanks again, guys. It's been a real blessing. May God bless you and keep you. Thank you.